Welcome to episode 10 of our series on the surnames of Appalachia and the South. Please note that I'm expanding our region, and I also want to include Mick and Mac names to help folks determine if they have Irish or Scottish origins. To make our task more manageable, I want to focus on pre-Civil War surnames, so please help me get the word out. As always, each of the names we'll examine today was requested by folks in our YouTube community. In case you missed the previous videos on surnames, I'll post a link to them in the description. So, today on the Vanntage Point, we're going to jump right in and look at the origins and meanings of 9 family names found across Appalachia and the American South. I hope you'll join me. Let's get started. Number 1, Blevins. The surname Blevins was requested by several viewers. Although the surname originated in Wales and means the son of Blevin, it's not among the most common surnames in Wales today. MacLeisic acknowledges that in Ireland, mostly County Tyrone by the way, which is up in Ulster, Blevins is a Welsh name. It's also not among the common surnames in Scotland, so it looks like most of the male members of the family left for opportunities in other lands. As a former president of the United States who's from Arkansas once said, "I feel your pain, I swear I do." My Van family came from Glamorgan, Wales, but today it's not common in Wales either. England and Appalachia and the South were popular destinations for Vans and Blevin folk. Number 2, Talley. The surname Talley is an Irish example of what happened to Blevins and Van in Wales. It was a Gaelic name, which means peaceable. At one time it was quite common in County Fermanagh. It's still used as an alternate form of Tully in County Longford. Unlike Blevins, though, most of the Talley immigrants were not attracted to England. It looks like the hills and coal mines of Appalachia were pretty good bait. Number 3, Newell. This Old English name derives from Newhall. Apparently the earliest members of this English family lived near a new hall. That's a significant bit of insight because if they lived near a hall, they were residents of a village or small town. Now, to us, that may not seem important at first glance, but in the year 1500 it was. It meant that the leaders of the family were skilled or otherwise educated enough to live away from the farm. Most of our ancestors were farmers of some sort, and here's a bit of historical trivia to sort of put that in context. You can share it at the dinner table if you want. The population of the United States was considered rural until the 1920 census showed that just over 50% of the population lived in urban areas. Now, in Ireland's North Kildare area, the surname can be an anglicised version of this Gaelic name, which means envy, valor. It's common in Ulster, where it's of English origin. Newell is not common in Scotland or Wales, so it looks like the Newells in Appalachia were from England or Ireland. Number 4, Simpson. This surname could be of English or Scottish origin. The name is common in Ulster's County Antrim. It's among the 50 most common surnames in Scotland. That's because Simon is a popular personal name in Scotland, so it's found across the lowlands and the central belt regions. It means the son of Simon, or Simeon, which is ultimately traceable to the Bible. Think Simon Peter. Sims is a spelling variant in England, and it's also found in England with the P missing, Simpson, as if those families ever put the P in it. It's not common in the Republic of Ireland or Wales, so it looks like England, Ulster, or Scotland are the most likely places of the origin for Appalachia's Simpson families. Number 5, Hood. One of the best high school basketball players and all-around athletes that I ever knew was a fellow named Greg Hood in Oliver Springs, Tennessee. I saw him make plays in the 1980s that still impress me to this day. Hood, of course, is an Old English name that means one who wears a hood. Think Robin Hood and his merry men who stole from the rich and gave to the poor. Variations of Hood appear in the Scottish records as far back as 1225. Hood is not common in Wales, but it's found in Ireland where it could be of Irish Gaelic origin for this word here, this name. The famous O'Neill clan of Ulster employed Irish bards named O'Hood. In Ulster, they are related to families named Mahood and Machood. In Appalachia, Hood can be of English, Scottish, Irish, or Scots-Irish origin. A paper trail will be helpful in determining the origin of your specific line of Hood. Number 6, Crowder. This Anglo-Celtic surname originated in Wales, where it was a variation of Crowther. As you likely know, fiddles were important musical instruments among the Celtic peoples, including the Welsh. Fiddles were small and relatively inexpensive, so they were among the easiest instruments to obtain. Now, I took violin lessons for a couple of years when I was a kid, so I can tell you that I found playing the guitar when I was a teenager much easier. Admittedly, that could be because Led Zeppelin and ZZ Top didn't translate very well to the violin. At any rate, Crowther, and hence Crowder, was a surname originally given to a fiddle player. Today, the surname is mostly found in England and Wales. I should point out that it's not common in Ireland or Scotland. At the end of the day, I must agree with Harrison's decision to call Crowder an Anglo-Celtic surname. In this case, Celtic is limited to Wales. Number 7, speaking of Wales, here's a surname Priddy. According to Henry Harrison in the Surnames of the United Kingdom, Priddy, which has multiple spelling variations, is most likely of Welsh origin. The root Pryd appears in several Welsh place names. Although the surname can be found in England, it's not common there or in Ireland or Scotland. I'm confident that Priddy originated in Wales. Now, it's important to point out that coal mining areas in Appalachia attracted a lot of miners from Wales. That population of immigrants was culturally different from the Anglo-Celtic immigrants that arrived 100 years earlier in the 1700s. Number 8, Saunders or Sanders. When I was a professor at the University of the Cumberlands, I lived in Corbin, Kentucky for nearly a decade. Corbin is the birthplace of Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC. I've eaten in the original KFC dozens of times. Once on a trip to Stirling, Scotland, we decided to have lunch at the local KFC. When I was paying the cashier for our meals, I mentioned to the young lady that we had eaten many times in the original KFC in Corbin, Kentucky. Well, she gazed at me as if I was speaking Greek, and then looked past me and said, "Next." She wasn't impressed. Americans and Canadians, we've got to keep in mind that when we travel to the old countries, we're not the first tourists that those folks have met. At any rate, Saunder or Sander is an old Teutonic name. It's a pet form of Alexander. When we put an S on the end of it, it becomes a son of Sander. The same is true for Saunders. Saunders is a popular abbreviation for Alexander in Scotland. Because of its presence in Scotland, the plantation of Ulster attracted members of those families to Ireland. To make matters a bit more fun, Saunders is the 89th most common surname in Wales. One would need a paper trail to decide on the origin of your specific line of Saunders. Number 9, Evans. This is the 4th most common surname in Wales. Only Jones, Davies, and Williams are better represented in that part of Great Britain. Evan is a Welsh form of Scot, so Evans would refer to the son of Evan. It's not particularly common in Scotland or Ireland, so it looks like Wales and England would be the most likely points of origin for members of Appalachia and the South's Evans families. Well, friends, that's about it for today. I hope you got something meaningful out of our discussion, and if you did, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I invite you to check out all the videos on the Vanntage Point. Just yesterday, I posted a video on England's Great Storm of 1987. I hope you'll check it out. And I look forward to seeing you again here on the Vanntage Point. God bless you and yours. Bye-bye.